Every single day, I meet someone with a new idea. Did it out in the lounge over there, did it last night when I chatted with folks. Just in the last week, someone pitched me a super tasty new mac and cheese. Someone else pitched me a new mobile app to reach influencers. And then someone else told me about a way that they can reduce the cost of medicine by 10x. So some amazing stuff. However, the challenge is almost everyone doesn't actually have the background to do so. So many of these people are first-time entrepreneurs. They have no track record. They don't fit the classic definition of a founder. And maybe some of these words don't resonate with you either, right? Maybe you work at a big company, maybe you work at a family business, or you might be in between jobs, or you're in college. And so your biggest doubt is, how do I actually get the money to implement the idea that I have? And so there's a common misbelief that you should just go out there and hustle, right? And so if you are watching any of these movies on Hulu, Showtime, Netflix today, you're seeing what's actually happening that's out there, and it's in the popular culture, and it's extremely dangerous advice, right? And so back when I grew up, it was the Glengarry Glen Ross, right? Just always be closing, and I hear that all the time. You just go out there and hustle, just get things done. Not only is it a massive waste of time, it leads to some disastrous outcomes. So I'm here to share with you a better playbook. So this is a better ABC. It's a 3-step how-to to close money from investors. And these are tactics that I've seen from both sides of the table. And so I've been a part of 6 ventures that have raised over $150 million. And I've also been a personal investor in about 80 companies. And so I really got to see what it looks like from those 2 perspectives. So step A of the playbook, aim for a really tight target. It's a precision approach to finding the right investors, and it's not a shotgun approach. Because the more tightly you focus on something, the more likely you are to actually hit that target. The shotgun blast does not work. I was talking to the founder of a pretty popular streaming app. You probably have it on your phone. And he had shared with me that when he went out to pitch investors, he got 360 no's before he got the very first yes. So that's an incredible waste of time. And was it because it was a bad idea, no market, bad team? It was none of those things. It was just because he was not talking to the right people. He was talking to the absolute wrong people. And so what you want to do is actually find the right people by taking this precise aim for that ideal investor. And so like a gunslinger in a Western, I'm going to go through this in 6 rapid shots. And so what makes a really good investor? 1, check size. Make sure they have the right size check, right? Like Goldilocks, there's such a thing as too small and too big. Second one, location. Ideally, that investor's in a location that is either where you are or near your customers. Third one, the industry. The more someone understands your actual industry, the more likely they are to actually give you money. Fourth one, the actual business model. And so whether they understand the customer or they understand how things work, how it makes money, those are all things that enable you to really get the money from that investor. The 5th one is around risk profile. And so think of it as if you have an idea, its risk is largely going to be either business-oriented, like ride sharing, like will you get into someone's car, or technical, like can you reduce the cost of medicine? And so if you find someone that understands that risk profile, that's what you really need. And then the final one, ideally, find a warm connection. This is true for so many other things, and investors are just like people. And so if this sounds like work, it is, right? You have to do some Google, you have to do some LinkedIn, but at the end of the day, you can do this from your sofa in sweatpants, like sit around at home. There's absolutely a way for you to be able to do this yourself. But at the end of this process, what you get is a really tight list of about 50 to 100 people that you can then reach out to. Step B, you want to break down the barriers between you and the believers. And here's where you actually make your first phone calls out, right? You're going out, you're sending emails, you're having coffee, you're doing Zoom calls, you're going to events like this. And when you reach out to people, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. There's this old adage, which I'm sure you've heard before, when you want money, ask for advice, and when you want advice, ask for money. And it's a little trite, but it's actually really true, and there's a few reasons why. that when you actually ask for advice, there's a few things that happens in terms of the person's psychology. So one, these are phrases that you could use, that I'm looking for feedback on my idea. Who else is smart in the industry that I can talk to? And what's key about this one is I am not raising right now. And so that's something you want to remember, and you want to set that expectation. You may be asking yourself, like, why don't you just come right out and ask for money? And there's a few key reasons for that. So the first one is around the hit rate. And so picture we've never met before, you do your pitch, the likelihood that I'm going to give you money after a 10-minute conversation is pretty low. Let's call it 2%. However, if you ask me for someone smart in the industry, I'm really likely to be able to connect you with someone. And so that goes up by quite a bit. The second reason is that the more you talk to someone, it creates these touch points. And the more touch points you have, you start developing a trend line for like what actually that person can do. And so with that track record, then you actually see that this person can execute. And then the third, probably the most important one, is just the investment community is extremely small. And so what happens is that if you have a shot clock that runs out, your deal will go super cold, super fast. And so when you're done with step B, you have a nice tight list of about probably 10 to 15 people that you know will ultimately invest in your startup. Step C, the FOMO one. And so there's some powerful psychology here that humans just can't resist. It's innate. You probably have felt it yourself the last time you snagged like a restaurant reservation or got the last ticket for a concert. And to do this, you've got to create urgency. And with urgency, that's what sparks people to take action. And to do that, you actually have to create your own scarcity. And you do that by making sure that the demand is higher than the supply. And so you want to find more people to want to give you money than you actually have room in your round. And the last one is around creating a deadline. So making sure that you have limited time, a short fuse, a short shelf life for your deal. And this positions your deal as like a hot deal with a little bit of space, but lots of momentum. And so what you do here is you approach your top 10 investors all at the same time and some more subtle language that you can use. This is one of my favorites, which was, it's not that you're opening a round, I'm closing a round, right? And so the train is leaving, it's moving fast, it's a hot deal, and one proactive thing I've heard used before is just, can you hold space? Like, can I count on you for this round? And so these are the phrases that really work and sort of trigger someone to act. And so these tactics have worked super well. We've actually packaged it up in like workshops at hundreds of times at multiple universities. And this is the very same playbook that I'm sharing today, and they're not secret. And so you don't have to blow a couple $100,000 to go to school, because this is just very, very common sense. You just have to be able to do it. I want to share two examples of people who have done this masterfully. And so one is, her name's Rebecca. She founded this app called Tang, and that Tang enables you to send money to family in foreign locations very cheaply. And as a woman of color, she struggled to raise the first $250,000. But she used these Jedi mind tricks to be able to then push past the barriers, and then she ultimately closed, I think it was more than 1.5 million. So in the period of a very short period of time. I was so enamored and thought she did such an amazing job that I actually asked her to share that same story with a bunch of other peers. And when she had done that, I asked her, like, where did you pick up these tips? Was it over your experience? Was it over time? And it turned out that she had actually picked it up at some workshop that we had run like 2 years ago. And so despite actually knowing all of these tactics, it like worked on me. So, but I shouldn't feel so bad, because it actually works on sharks as well. So another one of my students, David Zamarin, if you've seen this, developed a product which was a spray-on repellent for his shoes. And when he had got up on stage, it was about a month after we were working with him, 4 out of the 5 sharks also leaned in. And so he got a great deal from Cuban and Griner. And for him, it was exactly what he needed. But you don't need to go on Shark Tank in order to finance your idea. Just use this playbook. So 1, aim for a tight target. So use this precision approach to develop a list of investors. Break down barriers between you and the believers. So socialize, ask for advice, don't ask for money. And the last one is around creating FOMO. So some powerful psychology for really creating urgency to spark action. And so it's not rocket science. These are not secrets. It's something that's super easy. It's super repeatable. It's worked for me. It's worked for hundreds of other entrepreneurs, and I hope that'll work for you. Thank you.